I just got done watching the 2024 CNN presidential debates, and anyway, every so often, I will make a community post asking you guys for your input on a certain subject that I want to make a video on. Usually, this is because I either don't know how to interact with the video, or I don't know how to put everything into words that I want to put into words. And then sometimes I just like getting you guys in here. I feel like getting you guys into the videos is some of the best ways that I can pay back all of the love and support that you've given. And it's also just fun to see what you guys think from time to time. So I asked you guys a couple of days ago, I said, what in your opinion is the most overrated perk in the game? And as always, I do sort by newest first, and then I scroll all the way down and I work my way from the bottom to the top. I will say that if your comment doesn't have any nuance to it, if you just like put a perk name in there, then I'm probably not going to really respond to your comment, because like, what am I going to do with that? And also, if you go like far back into like the past when I wasn't playing, I also am probably not going to have much to say. But let's go ahead and get started with Ninja Cthulhu. It says, dead hard even before its nerf. I always found it was overrated. While it can be a little annoying sometimes, I never found it overpowered and could easily be countered. So before dead hard's nerf, I don't know about before, like back when dead hard for distance was a thing, but I did play before the current state of dead hard, back when it triggered whenever you were injured. As long as you weren't exhausted and you were injured, you could just dead hard, which means that you could potentially dead hard multiple times in a chase, depending on like a combination of vigilance and, you know, how well you could loop and stuff like that. And I don't agree. I don't agree. Even after its nerf, even in its current state, dead hard is still an A tier perk. Would I say it was overpowered? No. But it was very, very, very good. It was definitely in the S tier back before its current state. And the reason it is because the animation happens so fast. And you also waste a shitload of time baiting out a dead hard. Part of the power with dead hard, there's actually, you guys are going to be seeing the video before you see this one, but I actually made a video about a certain perk that's in the PTB and how this community likes to view things in a vacuum, and this is the result of that. You can't just view dead hard as ping reliant, 0.5 seconds, you know, bait it out. You have to view it as, the longer I wait to bait it out, that could be a chance for them to get to a pallet that they wouldn't have gotten to. That could be a chance for them to get around a corner that they wouldn't have reached. That extra few seconds could be the few seconds that it takes for somebody to complete a gen. You know, because it takes me a few extra seconds to down them, and then it takes me some time to get them to the hook. And then by the time I would get to a gen that might have been 98 or 99, now it's done because I waited those few extra seconds. Every precious second counts. The other thing about dead hard is that even if you expect it every time, it still was very difficult to bait out, because survivors have a lot of patience and they will wait a long time before they use dead hard, and some of them can make it way less obvious, and they can play off of your muscle reactions instead of like, you know, running and looking behind them all the time. A lot of the better survivors would like do things like spin into you, which triggers like an instant like click in a lot of killers' brains. It's like survivor close monkey brain click type of thing, right? And if you had that reaction, it didn't mean you were a bad player. It just meant you were the victim of a bait of their own. They successfully baited you before you could bait them. So old dead hard was a lot stronger than I think you realize, just in the macro sense, and how much time it wasted by just its mere existence. Basically, I'll put it this way. Dead hard was so strong that killers had to change the way they play the game because of dead hard's existence. And that's actually, I'm fairly surprised more killers aren't like slugging off of hook instead of picking up because of Decisive Strike, because that's how I've started to play. I have changed the complete way that I play. If someone kits off of hook and they body block and shit and I down them, I don't pick them up. I leave them down because I'm just expecting Decisive Strike to be there. because that's just how you have to play now. You have to completely shift your play style and hand pressure that you would have gotten otherwise over to the survivors because of its mere existence, and that was the power of it. First thing that came to mind was Pentimento. Why? If I don't know why, I can't agree or disagree. DS, here we go. As a killer, I've only ran into it a handful of times because I know if they are body blocking or trying to chase me after the survivor friends doesn't hook them, I will instinctively leave them sugs, because I don't want them to complain I'm tunneling them, so I built in letting them go just to avoid the DS as well. I rarely see it because of this. The problem is that DS is a perk that is so good that, again, its mere existence makes you play differently. You even admit here that it makes you play a bit differently, but also because it synergizes so well with things like Unbreakable, Boon Exponential, Plot Twist even, the survivors can force the body block on you and then force you to waste time hitting them and downing them, and even though you're like, you have DS, and you walk away, they go, yeah, fuck you, and then they just fucking pick themselves back up and go about their merry way. This is actually one of the things I was talking about, again, back in that video about seeing things in a vacuum, is when you think about the perk, you also have to think about the grand scheme of things and how the perk works in tandem with everything else in the game. Off the record, even if you're getting hard tunneled, they'll just eat the endurance hit anyway, and if you run away, you can't do anything because a conspicuous action will remove it, and the offset, silence, and aura will be able to be done better than other perks. Offset, the silence, and aura will be able to be done with best buffed iron will distortion. The reason Off the Record is so strong is because you get a speed boost instantly, and if the killer is dedicated to hard tunneling you, there is a good chance you won't take the initial endurance hit. And because like a lot of killers, they can't face camp you, right? If they face camp you, what are you gonna do, right? Like there's only so much that can be done, but 80 seconds of endurance is so much better than I think you realize. Yeah, it goes away with the conspicuous action, but that means that Off the Record basically means that if the killer wastes any amount of time chasing you, any amount of time, they have wasted far more time than they would have if they hadn't chased you. And you might think, oh, yo, that's just how the game works. But no, that's not. What I'm saying is that if a killer wastes time chasing you, they waste 10 seconds and because they're right on your asshole and they down you. That is wasting 10 seconds of their time, right? If they wait 10 seconds of their time and they hit you and you have Off the Record, then that is 15 seconds of their time, 20 seconds of their time, 25 even, because you get that massive speed boost and you can make it to safe loops. Off the Record is very, very powerful. It can also do things like make body blocking really powerful, right? Because like a killer might wait 10 seconds to hit you if you try to force a body block. I had that today. I was streaming and I had 2 people body blocking with Off the Record. I couldn't wait it out. You can't wait out an 80-second body block. So it just is what it is. I think Corrupt Intervention. Yes. I've been saying this. I am convinced that the community has gaslit me and themselves into saying that Off the Record, or I'm sorry, Corrupt Intervention is a great perk. You say you think it's a good perk, especially on killers like Trapper and Myers, it makes no difference. I have never had Corrupt Intervention make a goddamn difference. Because it's either the Corrupt Intervention blocks gens that the survivors aren't even on or nearby, or Corrupt Intervention goes away before it gets its full value because I down somebody too fast. Like, I found Corrupt Intervention to be, and like, I literally, the only change I would make to Corrupt Intervention is to give it a Lethal Pursuer effect of blocking gens like an extra 5 seconds. You know what I mean? So like if you run it with like Grim Embrace or DMS or Repressed Alliance in the game, it extends the blocking by 5 seconds. You know what I mean? That's the only change I would make to it, and I think it'd be a great perk. Back in the day, I would have said Dead Hard, but I barely see it anymore, so I can't really use that opinion anymore. I do still hold that Sprint Burst isn't as powerful as every survivor says it is, but that might be down to my own skill. Using it effectively, would rather just use Lithe over Sprint Burst. I can 100% tell you it is your own skill, because Lithe needs a Vault and Sprint Burst doesn't. I hate Sprint Burst because I am just in the habit of pressing my shift button unless I'm trying to hide from the killer, so I always end up wasting it. But Sprint Burst, the ability to instantly move at 150% speed on command, and the ability to 99 that is insane. And it's something that I've seen used multiple times to extend chases an extra 10 to 15 seconds, basically for free. I still don't think it should be nerfed. I still think it's fine to have S tier perks like that, but it definitely is one of the most powerful survivor perks in the game. Windows of opportunity. So many of my friends talk about how amazing it is and they can't play without it. These are not new players, by the way, big veterans. To me, it's just an autopilot perk. You could play just as well if you have a little bit of experience, know some common titles, and pay attention. The problem with your assertion is, first off, you don't have to tell me that they're experienced at the game, because trying to figure out how to put it. So you say to you, it's just an autopilot perk. The reason it is that way to you is because that's how you use it. And that is why you consider it bad. But if you don't use it as an autopilot perk, if you use it as I know where pallets and windows are, and I know how to effectively chain pallets and windows together and waste as much time at loops, then you get it's a very powerful perk. But like I've said in my video on it way back in the day, it's a perk whose power level is dictated exclusively by the skill level of the user. Like, exclusively. Like, most perks in the game, they just kind of get value, and the value may be small or big depending on the user, but the value of windows of opportunity is exclusively based on the user. At the end of this, you say experience common tiles and pay attention. No amount of paying attention is going to give you the knowledge that somebody dropped a pallet on the other side of a map and chased with the killer. No amount. You could probably make educated guesses, but no amount's going to help you with that. Cat Lover. I think Iron Will is pretty overrated, but it's really wait. I think Iron Will is pretty overrated. It really only hard counters Spirit, but it's good, but people, I think, just overused it, and I'm glad it's getting buffed because very much over nerfed, especially an unnecessary nerf. Yeah, I mean, I can't hear shit anyway, so I can't tell you either or if Iron Will is overrated or not, because I can't hear shit anyway, so I'm probably really not even going to notice that much of a difference when Iron Will gets its buff. Pain Resonance with the RNG of Scourge Hooks and the lower regression limited to 4 times a match. I think that other slowdown perks are better. No. Pain Res is the best passive slowdown in the game because it can happen from anywhere on the map. So things like Surge, or Eruption or Pop all require you to be in the vicinity of the gen at some point to get the slowdown. Pain Resonance slowdown is passive and it's instant. And the slowdown that it incurs is synergistic with so many other slowdown perks. And that's why it's one of the most powerful. 20%, I think it's still 20%, right? 20% 4 times a match is 80% of gen regression. Total gen regression, 80%. That is a lot of time undone. That is 80 seconds of gen time that you have bought yourself if you get all 4 procs. A lot more than you think it is. Sprint Burst, we've already covered Sprint Burst. Nurse's Calling. What the fuck are you talking about? Who's overrating Nurse's Calling? Who's trying to convince you that they think Nurse's Calling is a good perk? Who's doing that? How many people have you heard say, oh my god, Nurse's Calling is one of the best perks ever? What do you mean? Who's told you that? They're lying to you. They were trolling you, 100%. Overrated and overhated perk is Franklin's Demise. It's not that strong. It can be countered by it's frustrating. Franklin's Demise is pretty good. I wouldn't say it's overrated. Probably overhated for sure, but overrated, I wouldn't say so. I think it's pretty fairly rated. There's no way people are popping firecrackers already. Are you fucking kidding me? It's 10 o'clock at night on June 27th. I hate this fucking country. Anyway, Pop Goes the Weasel. Really? I've had one match this week where I could say I won thanks to that perk. I feel like that's I hate using this word, but I feel like it's a skill issue. I feel like that's a skill issue, right? There's no way. Like, I feel like that's got to be a skill issue. Because like how badly are you using the perk? Because that's a lot of regression. To go from 5% to 15% regression, every time you kick a gen with pop, that's 15 seconds shaved off of a gen. Roughly, right? Not exactly 15 seconds. It's like roughly. Yes. You want to say hi to YouTube?
Hello.
I'm recording a video, so we're not live, but... Small detour. Anyway. Deliverance only lets you self-unhook once, which in the grand scheme of things doesn't save that much time when teammates already can, and will try to save you pretty quickly. It requires you to unhook someone yourself, is an utter waste of a perk slot, and if you don't unhook someone and get hooked, it makes it easy for the killer to tunnel you with the broken, and the broken effect affects any self-unhook. I've seen it apply on the second stage anti-camp unhook. Generally, I feel like single or few use perks are weak in general, but even then, compared to stuff like Adrenaline, which can completely reset pressure and undo chases, Deliverance is just so conditional and barely worth it. You can bring in Exhaustion or Aura, or Healing or Generate. Here's the problem. I think you're vastly underestimating the amount of pressure you get rid of by just unhooking yourself in the killer's face. Genuinely speaking, unhooking yourself in the killer's face and then using that base kit borrowed time to fucking make it to another loop and just completely make the killer tunnel you can complete more gens than you can expect. On top of that, it's a very good counter to being camped. It's a very good counter to other things. I'll put it to you this way. Generally speaking, the killer wants one person on hook, one person going for the save, one person in chase. Deliverance immediately eliminates the one person going for the save and puts two people on gens instead of one. Once again, I think you guys are just like, a lot of this community just views things in a vacuum, and they don't see the bigger picture of how it fits into the puzzle piece of the match overall. So yeah. Resilience. A lot of people hype up this perk. I don't think it's all that great. Why? Again, nuance, guys. Dead hard. Why? Old self-care. Didn't play with it. Decisive Strike. We already covered it. Adrenaline. Really? You think Adrenaline is overrated? It's essentially just a really good win more perk with no value at all for the majority of the game. It is a perk that is earned and produces an immediate release of pressure from the killer. Terminus is actually, I believe, unironically, a very underrated perk. Because the ability to keep people injured for the majority of the end game. Actually, better way to put this. NOED is a really powerful perk because it gives you free pressure. I say free. It's not free, but it gives you pressure in the end game. Adrenaline removes pressure in the end game, and NOED gives pressure in the end game, which is why they're the two perks that are considered the diametric opposals of each other. So yeah, I think you're just vastly underestimating how much value you get in the end game and how much pressure you can remove with it. It also can be like, it's also like oh, we've got one gen left that it's at 80%. And instead of forcing my teammate to stop and heal me for 16 seconds, I can just hop on that generator with them for, 10, 15 seconds and get healed. So we essentially finish the last gen 15 seconds faster, right? We cut the time in half. There's just a lot of pressure that adrenaline removes from the killer and gives to the survivors. For killers, I think the most overrated perk is probably pop. I already went over that, so Discordance. It's usually better for survivors to split on gen. Still shows the gen is yellow for like 5 seconds, even if multiple survivors aren't working on the gen anymore. I agree. I know Otz is like a really big fan of Discordance, but like, I don't know. I just don't get that much consistent value out of it. I found Discordance to be good on like Knight, Freddy, and Artists, and that's about it. Basically, killers who take advantage of killers who can pressure generators from afar really well. It probably works well on Xeno, but I'd have to talk to Bran about that. I'd have to say Blood Warden. Again, who? Who is overrating Blood Warden? Who is telling you Blood Warden is good? Who told you this? Who lied to you? Look at me. Look at me. Muffin? I know this is you, Muffin. I know you're Muffin from my Twitch chat. I know it says Cookie Cutter, but I know you're Muffin from my Twitch chat. Muffin, look at me. Who's been lying to you? Who has told you this perk is good? Where have you found people overrating this perk? Who's doing this to you? Who is lying to you, Muffin? Who? Same thing happened with Melon down here. Where's Melon at? Nurse is calling. Melon, who's lying to you? Melon and Muffin. Both of you. Who is lying to you guys? Who is telling you these perks are good? Or like great? Or awesome? Who's doing that? Who? I need names. Windows of opportunity. I've already went over this one. Nowhere to hide. Really? Ultimate weapon is generally better for finding people nearby since everybody uses distortion. Nobody uses calm spirit anymore. And if they simply run away, tracking won't be necessary since they'll leave scratch marks, and the brief aura reading is only usable in chase if you're playing as someone like Nurse, Artist, or Pyramid Head. No. Ultimate weapon's cooldown is way too long now to be even remotely consistent. Nowhere to hide can be procced basically anytime you want as long as a generator has even 1% progress on it. Don't get me wrong. Ultimate weapon can be used in situations where nowhere to hide can't, but because ultimate weapon has such a long ass cooldown now, it's 80 seconds now, right? I think it's 80 seconds. It's pretty insane. Because it has such a long ass cooldown now, it's generally speaking, just not that great. No, it's 60 seconds now. Still, your average match lasts 8 minutes. You're probably going to get so at most you get 8 procs of ultimate weapon. Nowhere to hide, you're gonna get more than 8 procs of nowhere to hide. You just are. Yeah, no, I don't agree. For me, I have to say prove thyself. Especially since they removed the blood point bonus. What is it with? Okay, like, I'm going to read the rest of this in a second, but quick tangent. What is it with the blood point bonus and you guys thinking that it makes perks weaker? Like, the blood point bonus is great. Don't get me wrong. I would like blood point bonuses, but y'all do the same thing with barbecue and chili. People are like, oh, ever since they removed the blood point bonus, it hasn't been that great. It's still a good effect, guys. What do you mean? Anyway, sure, it can be somewhat strong with a coordinated swift, but how often does that really happen for it to be a problem? It just doesn't do enough to be considered a good gen rushing perk. I completely disagree. Especially since there are much better options. Hyper focus. Maybe I'm just dumb, but prove thyself is overrated and more of a noob trap than anything. Here's the thing. Right? Here's the thing. You have to prove thyself has to be used in situations where someone's going to sit on a gen with you. I agree that prove thyself is overrated because you get better pressure 100% of the time by splitting up on gens, but your explanation is not correct. Prove thyself is strong for gen speeds, but it is not strong for gen pressure or gen efficiency, if that makes sense. Surge, again, no nuance. You need to give me something. Give me something, guys. This is a conversation. Give me something. Deadlock feels like a trap perk because while on the surface is a good way to stop most progress gen from getting completed, survivors now have more reasons to split pressure in unplaces, not focus on one gen. I agree and disagree. Deadlock is still pretty good to prevent massive gen rushing, but it doesn't prevent gen rushing overall because of the things you said. So I agree and disagree. Windows, I've already covered that. Resilience, I've already covered that. Well, No, actually, you're giving nuance. Hold on. It has a really strong buff to a lot of actions, but it's only when you're injured and it doesn't add anything. I would prefer Deja Vu, even if it's less simply. You do not run Resilience for healing or gen rushing speeds. You run Resilience for the Volt speed. 110% of the time. Nobody who understands the fundamentals of this game is running Resilience for gen or healing speeds. They are running it for Volt speeds, because Volt speed does two things. It combats ping issues, and it just simply is just better. Being able to Volt faster means you are less likely to get hit through a Volt, meaning that all those last second fraction of a times that you would have made a pallet, rounded a corner, vaulted a window, now suddenly become possible. Lithe. While I do use it, I know it does limit my ability to gain better chase skills sometimes, especially when I sort of autopilot the windows. Sounds like you think it's overrated for a player error over the perk itself, and I don't think that I agree. You know what I mean? I don't think that I agree on that. If something's a player error, I don't think a perk can be overrated within itself. It's still a very powerful tool. It still gives you a lot of distance for little effort, so it's still very strong. Adrenaline, we've already covered that. Unbreakable only works once a match, so I just can't get put on the ground by a hostage holding merchant. This honestly sounds like you just have a problem with Skull Merchant over Unbreakable itself. If Unbreakable worked more than once a match, it would be the single most powerful perk in the game, and we would never see anything else. Even if you bumped it up to twice a match, it would never leave anybody's builds. Guaranteed pallet saves, guaranteed flashlight saves, guaranteed everything. Like literally, like it would be so unbelievably strong. And it's like even the recovery speed by itself is incredibly strong. Like I think you just have more of a problem with Skull Merchants for some reason. Gotta figure that out, man. Unbreakable, no nuance. Resilience, we've already covered that. Corrupt Intervention, covered that. Off the record, we've covered that. NOED, most times if I run it, the game never even gets to endgame. And if it does, after the first down, everyone else just leaves. No chance at last minute snowball from altruistic survivors going for the save. So if everybody is just leaving when you proc your NOED, that means that you're getting the last down too late. NOED provides something more than free downs. It provides a close to guaranteed kill by its threat alone. I'll put it to you this way. Downing someone and then everybody leaving because they just don't want to look for the very easy to find totem is more value than you think it is. That can turn a 1K into a 2K, turns a 2K into a 3K. You know what I mean? You can instantly up. Shut the fuck up, phone. Can I hear that? You can instantly turn the game from a complete loss to a draw, or from a draw to a win, if you run NOED and you use it correctly. I think far too many people view the game in terms of, if I don't get a 4K, or if I'm not getting tons of downs at one time or something like that, then you don't view it as overly useful, and I just don't agree with that. So that's everything I have for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. It was really fun reading your opinions. This, like I said, I like doing this from time to time. Always keep an eye out in my community section, because I'll just randomly be like, I wonder what the community thinks of this, and I'll ask you guys instead of going ask Reddit or Twitter or something like that. I just ask you guys straight up, because you're my community, and who better to answer my questions for the community than my community. So other than that, I hope you guys have a great day. And as always, a great big special thank you to my channel members listed on screen now. If you want to find out how to become a channel member today and get awesome perks like seeing videos early, merch discount codes, and more, then please click that join button down below. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Need more Kaiser in your life? Well, I've got you covered. Check out my second channel, Kaiser Extras, where I upload full gameplays, stream compilations, me reacting to your Dead by Daylight clips, and more. We also upload a daily short with all the greatest clips from stream. We'll see you over there. Link is in the description.